You were here, years ago we were talking about Snow White, right?
Wild.
It's been a long time since you signed on to make this movie.
2 years this month since I last sat in this lovely chair and talked to you.
It doesn't sound like this is something Zegler thinks. It sounds like she keeps a record. And yes, who can forget that lovely interview?
People call you Maria on the street?
Boy, do they.
They do. Oh, that's great.
God.
That's got to be delightful,
They
huh?
sing to me
all
the time. The entire Shazamily and I, we went out to dinner. And I walked to the ladies' room, and there was a man coming out of the men's room, and he looked at me, and he just went, "I've just kissed a girl named Maria." And I came back from the bathroom, and I walked up to DJ Katrona, and I grabbed him by the shoulders. I said, "We need to leave."
Oh, really?
Zegler makes it sound exhausting that people recognize her, and thus reveals her real view of her fans. Making it sound exhausting is also a way of letting the audience know just how famous she is, or thinks she is.
Gal Gadot plays the evil queen.
Yeah.
You play Snow White. Have you ever been to that Snow White ride at Disneyland?
I get stopped for photos every time I'm online for the Snow White ride, and it is I have to pretend like, oh God, well, crazy that we're in front of this.
Yes, being famous is so hard. Great to hear how much she appreciates her fans, because I was just starting to worry that she was only in this line of work for herself. You know, crying about watching herself on screen and stuff like that.
Why were you crying?
Oh my gosh, I saw well, we didn't even see, but I saw the logo and I went, that's my name, Snow White's up there, and I cried my eyes out.
Oh God, well, crazy that we're in front of this.
Wait, how often are you in line for the Snow White ride?
I'm a narcissist. I don't know.
No deception detected.
I don't know. It's always like my publicist Ashton was with me the last time it happened, and I was like, God, I hope no one, because every time they come up to me, I'm always online for this freaking ride, and they think it's like I'm standing there waiting for the photo op, being like,
well, you kind of are, you know?
No, I guess
like
so.
Zegler's highlighting problems that she knows aren't problems at all, which makes her achievements sound that more extraordinary. The epitome of humble brag. Looking at this older interview, it's clear why Zegler would be interested in rebranding herself. And in this new interview, that's exactly what she's doing, with a little help from Jimmy Kimmel, who's as disingenuous as ever. First step in Zegler's rebranding tactic is to make sure that nobody in the audience misses how wanted she was for the part. She does that by aligning herself with big names.
And I actually got a really glowing recommendation from Steven Spielberg to Mark Webb, who directed Snow White, saying that, and I also got a text from Steven kind of alluding to the fact that I had gotten the part before I had found out. Because
Really?
I wished him a happy Father's Day, as one does, and he texted me a bunch of apple emojis as a response.
And did that only, oh, so that,
I didn't know yet.
Right. Oh, very interesting, very clever, very Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, he was giving Taylor Swift Easter eggs about my casting. But
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, considering the ratings and the public perception of Zegler, giving Zegler a glowing recommendation and eventually hiring her wasn't clever. On the contrary, it exposes serious problems with casting in Hollywood, a misalignment between Hollywood agendas and what people want. Here's what Disney CEO Bob Iger's ambitions are.
We talk about what we want to make, and I felt that it was time for Marvel storytelling to much better reflect the world we were doing business in. I'm a big believer in that, whether you call it diversity or inclusion. But the bottom line is that doing so is good for commerce. It was good for commerce.
Diversity and inclusion are good for commerce, he says. To him, it's about money. This is important to keep in mind because this is different from the contrived, pathos-appealing rhetoric Zegler uses. Her focus is on the supposed brave message she's sending, simply because of who she is. It's all about money, but Zegler's statements are intended to distract from that. Watch this.
How do you put little baby Rachel at ease with what you're doing in your career?
Yeah.
Like, how is it that you come to this role and make little Rachel proud? Yeah, I mean, and obviously for my community, it's a huge moment. I want it to be this revolving door and not just I opened one door and one person walked through.
Yes.
you just want to do right by your community so badly. And I know that Snow White is a huge moment for them, as is the Hunger Games.
Firstly, we learn that the focus that Zegler has on the popularized definition of diversity is dictated by Iger, the definition that focuses on people's innate characteristics and not diversity of thought. Secondly, because Iger is really the one behind Zegler's statements, Zegler's self-aggrandizing platitudes about opening doors for and representing communities are part of a calculating pathos appeal, especially because Iger has already revealed the real reason why he's interested in diversity.
It was good for commerce.
This exposes how insincere buzzwords like inclusion and diversity are.
You know, I'm a businesswoman. I had a really clear job to do when I took over Bud Light. Okay, what does evolve and elevate mean? It means inclusivity. It means shifting the tone. It means having a campaign that's truly inclusive, and representation is at sort of the heart of evolution.
Via calculating pathos appeals, Zegler can make self-aggrandizing statements, exaggerating the importance of a role to a comical degree, while pretending to be humble and self-sacrificing, anything to make people forget about the commerce part. Personally, I'd be offended if someone claimed to be speaking for whatever community they'd want me to be part of, just so they can evade the criticism they've faced and sound brave in the process. That would tell me that they don't care about me, but only use community discourses for self-serving reasons.
Because we're making things that make people connect with one another. And there are people out there who say things that make people want to not come together. That make people want to fight. And it's just not worth the time and energy.
Exactly.
The projection here is off the charts, because as we've seen, Zegler's done everything in her power to make people not want to come together.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. Super weird. So we didn't do that this time.
And no, the love story isn't just a big focus in the fairy tale. It's the very essence of the fairy tale, what all scenes lead up to. The irony in saying it's not worth the time and energy, while they're spending time and energy talking about it. Ironically, this conversation, which doesn't sound scripted at all, deserves a fairy tale of its own at this point.
So we just stay graceful and ignore the hate. Hello.
Exactly that.
Yes, because nothing says ignoring the hate like spending time and energy talking about it. I like how they oversimplify any and all criticism as hate, anything to avoid pointing fingers at yourself, I guess. When representing communities is the main reason, or just one of the reasons for making a movie, there's no reason for the movie. It's a sure sign that the movie doesn't have anything to offer in terms of storylines and ideas. It's also a disingenuous way of preventing criticism, like, if you criticize this, you're bigoted. And Iger isn't even right when he claims that his version of inclusion and diversity is good for commerce. The many flops underline that.
They are probably just having a really hard day.
Yes.
And I am putting out a movie.
Amen. That's right.
And I am putting out a movie.
Even when Zegler tries to rebrand herself, she just can't hide her many lovable personality traits. Wait. The blind focus on diversity and inclusion, code for exclusion, isn't the only thing that's wrong with Disney. The following excerpts underline a mismatch between Iger's self-branding and branding of Disney and people's perception of him and the brand.
Disney, having been founded in 1923 by Walt Disney, still had an abnormal adherence to its legacy, to its heritage, to its past. What was clear to me is that if that adherence or the reverence that people had within the company for that heritage continued, it would get in the way of innovation. But there were a lot of folks in the company that were more on the reverential side than the respect side. And I had to really attack that. In some cases, it meant changing out personnel. In some cases, it meant taking some big, bold decisions.
As a classic means of complexity reduction, Iger condescendingly makes convenient, self-serving distinctions between the legacy team and the innovation team, and the respectful side and the reverential side. Convenient and self-serving because it's inconceivable that people on the reverential side are and would define themselves as reverential or only reverential. However, Iger needs them to only be reverential. He needs this complexity reduction in order to brand himself as a visionary.
Big, bold decisions.
Disney had been in existence for 8 decades before Iger was appointed CEO. That means decades without his particular brand of innovation. So, by definition, the reverential side had to have been innovative. This was the team that created iconic characters like Simba and Mufasa. Ironically, the reverential side makes Iger seem out of touch and outdated with his faux progressive ideas.
Whether you call it diversity or inclusion.
By the way, I like the euphemism changing.
In some cases it meant changing out personnel.
The verb firing is just too negative.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
It's crazy that Iger actually believed this was the way to go, and it speaks to his leadership skills. Hollywood executives sure don't think much of the people whose money they depend on. The divide between the ways that big studios brand movies and what people actually want has never been greater, so maybe the legacy team wasn't so bad after all.
But there were a lot of folks in the company that were more on the reverential side than the respect side, and I had to really attack that.
I just can't wait to hear what Zegler and Kimmel will talk about next. I have a feeling it's going to be deep and profound.
Yeah.
And are you whistling? Are you a good whistler?
Bad at whistling.
Oh, you are?
I heard that you are as well.
I'm terrible at whistling. And I wish I was good at whistling.
I got better on this film. I do teach them how to whistle in the film.
Right,
but,
yeah.
And it's a very sweet, it's a scene I auditioned with Dopey. And then it was one of those things where you go like, not bad.
Pretty good, yeah. It's good.
Thank you.
Let's take a moment to thank Jimmy Kimmel for his tireless efforts to educate the public about important issues, for always speaking truth, just like all of his colleagues, past and present. That means you, Jimmy Fallon.
What? Like dating? He has all his teeth? Like people were shocked. They were shocked.
People said he has all his teeth.
Yeah, he has all his teeth.
People said he has all his teeth.
Yeah, he has all his teeth.
And you, Lily Singh.
Now, I know there are guys out there thinking, oh, International Women's Day? Why don't we have an International Men's Day? Well, you're in luck, because you do. It's actually on November 19th. But you wouldn't know that because you're too busy celebrating it every other day of the year.
And you, Drew Barrymore.
I've been watching your show With Love, which is really, really wonderful.
So much criticism of the branding of Snow White and the movie itself, and Kimmel wants to talk about whistling. Talk shows are a way for celebrities to keep reality from ruining their self-branding, encouraged by talk show hosts that are as fake as the entertainment industry that hires them. Talk shows are one of the last remnants of the old world, where celebrities and hosts get to brand themselves and each other in any way they want without being challenged or contradicted, while viewers are encouraged not to think too much and focus on irrelevant things such as a celebrity's appearance, clothes, and ability to regurgitate meaningless buzzwords. Everything in talk shows is designed to block critical thinking. I like how Zegler and Kimmel talk about the complicated themes in Snow White. Wait, personally, I can't wait to hear more about whistling.
The kind of whistling I want to do is like the whistling that like a mom does on the street when you're like late for dinner.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah, to get a taxi.
And what I do sometimes is scream in a high pitch to try and make it sound like a whistle, but it never really does. Yeah.
Okay. That one. Yeah.
Like that kind of thing, yeah.
My dad can do that. And
I like the authentic audience laughter, even though Kimmel didn't say anything funny.
But it never really does, yeah.
that one.
It ended so abruptly, though. How strange.
But it never really does, yeah.
That one.
Next, it's made even clearer that talk show hosts are only there to help celebrities contrive self-branding along, instructing audiences what to think about all the smiling, friendly guests.
Your family's like a bunch of Disney, like crazy Disney people,
Yeah, they
right?
are,
Including your dad?
Yes, my mom and dad's wedding song was A Whole New World from Aladdin.
Wow.
I was bred for this.
Would they take you to Disneyland, Disney World when you were a kid?
I went to Disney World. Truly, like, that was our vacation. I was bred for this.
No, she literally wasn't. The public perception of Zegler and Disney is a testament to that. Zegler's statement sounds about as authentic as this.
It's just a very dedicated group of people who love Disney cartoons. I'm one of them. You know, I love everything that the Disney company has put out in the past a million years, 100 years this year. And so 100.
Yes, because as we all know, every single actor loves every single production of the company they work for. That must be why Zegler said this.
Weird. Super weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Rebranding almost always fails. Just ask Meghan Markle.
Truly, like, that was our vacation.
Oh, I've no doubt Zegler's being truthful. Everything she says sounds so sincere and heartfelt.
But in recent years, my dad has invested in the ears with like a Santa hat that has Mickey ears on it.
I'm imagining them in the "Our Daughter is Snow White" T-shirt, so walking around
the next trip, yeah.
At this point, I don't know what I'm imagining. There's a certain irony here. Mickey Mouse was created in 1928, more than 70 years before Iger was appointed CEO. Still, it's the old characters people remember, even Zegler's dad, even though they're from an outdated era.
The reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power.
Why doesn't Zegler mention one of the characters from Strange World, or maybe one of the characters from the horrific Buzz Lightyear? Because it's the old characters people remember, the old fairy tales that Disney can't stop disrespecting, but needs in order to keep making money, because they can't come up with original ideas and memorable characters. Kimmel's statements become increasingly disingenuous as the interview progresses or regresses.
Then, because, I mean, you seem to be dominating the world of musicals. You're doing Evita in London, right? All right, no screaming and no whistling in Evita either.
No whistling.
Well, I've been hearing great things about the movie Disney's Snow White.
Really? I'd like to know his sources on that, because they're difficult to find. A disingenuous ending to a disingenuous interview about whistling and gaslighting the audience to think that Zegler's great and the right choice for Snow White, completely ignoring reality, which is what talk shows are about.
I mean, it's been under wraps for so long, so it's really exciting to get to share any kind of look with an audience that cares so much. It's been really, really amazing.
Yes, and I wonder why it's been under wraps for so long.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
And yes, we know how much Zegler and Disney care about the audience.
For the Snow White ride, and it is I have to pretend like, oh God, well, crazy that we're in front of this.
Yeah, as a diehard Disney fan myself, who I feel like I see every release and opening weekend, it's like getting to show it to your best friends in a way that you're just like, you won't believe what we did. And so it's been really, really amazing to get to hear their live reactions too. It's just such an instant gratification that what we made is cared about so much, and that's a really wonderful thing.
So now the gratification is getting to see people who care so much about the movie. That's a little different from this.
We didn't even see it, but I saw the logo and I went, that's my name, Snow White's up there, and I cried my eyes out.
Zegler made Zegler cry. How touching.
It's classic and beautiful and inventive. It's just magical.
Sounds deep. Exactly what art needs right now. Rebranding is always fake, and Disney's poor attempts at damage control underline that. In my estimation, Disney will make a traditional movie in the near future, one that'll make people go, wow, so great to see that Disney's returned to its roots. However, people shouldn't be positive, because now we know what Disney really thinks about traditional storytelling, the old fairy tales and their audience. Any traditional movie will only be part of a temporary phase, a stepping stone to return to the inclusive and innovative content, as Iger falsely labeled it. Disney and many other companies don't deserve the benefit of the doubt, because there is no doubt about where they stand, where they really stand. Subscribe for more videos. Until next time.
All the pictures are out there of little me in my Snow White gown.
That's why it's gonna make me cry.
No, stop, because you'll make me cry.
No, don't start, please.
No, no.
That one.